What's up, everybody? This is another content piece about Zillow. Today we're going to talk about renters. I don't know if you guys get a lot of Zillow calls that are people asking about rentals, and a lot of times the addresses are weird, and you're like, "What? This isn't on the MLS. What is this?" So today we're going to talk about three main points with renters. Number one, even if you're not in the rental game, let's figure out a way where you can get paid for rental people. Two, we're going to talk about, why are people renting? What is this, a short-term thing or a long-term thing? And the third is really about building that rental pipeline for future first-time home buyers. So, Cody, why don't you talk about that rental handoff and how we work that?
Yeah, so Jim had a really great point there in that, we really need to build a database, and especially when you look at this next generation of home buyers, so I'm 27, like my generation of home buyers, we're waiting much, much longer, whether that be don't feel prepared, whether that be a student debt issue, a lot of first-time home buyers, you're seeing, NAR is putting out materials that talks about a lot of first-time home buyers now, are needing financial assistance, whether that's from family members or whatever. So really, when we're getting these rental leads, and for us, we really don't have a lot of partners in our area that'll do, any sort of referral commission for us to hand them renters. Coming back to, what we're always hitting on in every single call, we want to come from connection. We want to help people. If you have the ability and you have those, connections in your area, some of the larger areas where you can do that and have that kind of relationship, I mean, that's a great, if that property management company is the right fit for that person, then absolutely all day do that, make your money. But for us, we have to be really, really delicate with it because we, A, don't have those relationships, and B, want to focus on, the long-term nurture. I think you need to approach that from, asking several questions. Why are you renting? Why are you interested in renting? Why are you interested in renting this place? Why are we in this area of town? Why is renting important? Why not buy? And hitting those, and not necessarily looking for objections, but just coming to understand why it is they're doing what they're doing, and then continuing to follow up long term. Even if you do pass it on to, let's say, ABC, property management company, following up, after that initial appointment, saying, hey, how'd it go? Did you feel like it was a good fit? Did you get taken care of? How are things going? And keeping that nurture in place, because long term that will eventually, knock on wood, turn into a home buying lead. So.
Yeah, I mean, I think the way I look at rental leads is the way I look at PPC leads versus a normal Zillow lead, right? Where a normal Zillow lead, when we have done our data from registration until close, is normally, I believe it's about 6 months. A PPC lead is about 650 days. And so if someone's renting right now, that's probably a long-term lead. And so I think people, when they're looking at the ROI on Zillow leads, a lot of time give it a bad rap because they're not looking at it as a total pipeline. They're looking at, if I spend $1 today, I want $2 tomorrow, or $5 tomorrow, or $10 tomorrow. And they're not looking at what the long-term possibilities are for those people that are in their system. Eric, why don't you give me a success story of someone that you had talked to that said, oh, I'm looking at this place as a rental, and talk about that conversation and what came out of it.
Yeah, absolutely. So we do have some relationships with property management companies, and we can get a small referral for sending them that way. But this particular person did not end up going through there, but I still knew that she only wanted to rent for a year because she was relocating from out of town, wanted to get a feel for where she wanted to settle down and put down roots. So, I followed up with her. Hey, did they get back to you? No, they didn't. Well, did you find a place to rent? Yes. Okay. Did you sign, a 12-month lease, or how long do you plan on renting? And then I set my reminders based on that. And I follow up periodically throughout the year, invited her to our first-time home buyer course, which I believe she came to, and then ended up connecting with one of our buyer's agents and purchasing a home. So even though that was, what some people would view as a crappy rental lead, that turned into a closed deal. It didn't turn into a closed deal that month or that year even, but it was really, it's not hard to call or text and check in a couple of times throughout the year for that size of a paycheck. So Stop viewing them as useless leads and start viewing them as long-term nurtures, and you'll probably see yourself closing some deals from them.
Exactly. And so Eric, with that one, you got paid twice, right? You got paid a rental referral?
I did not, because she didn't go with
Okay.
that company. She
But
went
I've
through
had
another
ones
rental
where,
company. But yeah,
I've had ones where I've gotten the rental referral, and then a year later, when they're ready to buy, I've gotten the other closed deal as well. So that's what I think a lot of people go wrong with their business, is they are looking at ways to say no instead of ways to win-win. So that's where Robbie and everybody here originally came from, was we wanted to basically come up with Project No, where we never were able to say no to anyone, and we always were able to assist them and always had a revenue source coming, even if we couldn't help them directly, by handing them off to someone that could. Cody, why don't we talk about our third point? Because I'm going to be honest, I totally forgot which point it was. And so I'm really hoping you remember.
it was handing off to rental properties, why renting, and then building that long-term pipeline.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah.
And so kind of following up with, Eric's, story there, that's the game for us at the end of the day. If you can leverage some of those relationships, it's great, but you also need to be looking far ahead. And I think sometimes we get caught as realtors in the here and now. If it's not going to be a check today, it's just not a priority. And you need to be building those long-term follow-ups if you're going to be successful. ISAs, that's our bread and butter. There's times of feast and times of famine. And if you don't build up, renters can be a huge part of that. One of the things that I'm, thinking a lot about, as I look at, us as an ISA department, we as a real estate company and as a community as a whole, is how are we reaching out to the next generation of home buyers? Because they're the ones who are renting right now, or soon to be renting. And how are we nurturing those relationships and actually creating, very, very intentional, an intentional system around those home buyers. That's something that we talk about all the time. We need to stay in front of them, because eventually they're going to become the dominant force in the market. And if you were there to help them through that renting process, finding that next place, finding that next rental, they're going to remember that. And people do. I've had people come back through who were just so thankful that, after I sent them off sent them or referred them to, a property management company, that I called them the week after and checked in and said, hey, how did all that go? Are you going to sign with them? How long did you guys sign for? And, you'll be surprised how many more details come out of those follow-up calls, like right after that initial referral is set. It'll blow your mind. So
Definitely. I think that's a good point. And I think the big thing too that I was referencing to Cody and Eric before and everybody was, there's been so many times where I've lost out on the first pass on someone, but they've remembered the conversation because I wasn't salesy. And we talked about things that mattered to them. We talked about their wedding. We talked about a divorce. We talked about their parents dying, things like that. We didn't talk about the house. And so with these rental leads, I'm sure we have hundreds in our system right now. And I'm sure long term, we'll be able to reference tons of these conversations that we had and really reestablish rapport a lot quicker and re-engage business. That's why, like with expireds, I can get a ton of business from people I've had conversations with 5 years ago because they remember me. They remember me as the non-salesy guy. I was just someone that talked to them. So look at it as opportunities. Stop looking at it as wasted times. And I think you'll be way more successful with these type of leads long term. You guys have anything else to add?
killed it.
Awesome. Well, hey, thanks for tuning in. Check out our other content pieces. If you guys have questions, just hit them down below and we'll take care of it. Until next time, have a good day.